Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty, joined today by Kyle Dvorchak and Lawrence Jackson, where we're going to get into Week 9's toughest rankings. Also going to break down Monday's latest shocking Monday Night Football game, the Cleveland Browns destroying the Cincinnati Bengals. And we're recording this trade deadline Tuesday. By the time you hear this, there's going to be more moves we do not talk about in the show, but we're going to talk about TJ Hawkinson's rather shock trade to the Minnesota Vikings for a second-round pick, as Kyle Dvorchak jumps in and corrects me that it wasn't just TJ Hawkinson. They also got back a fourth-rounder. And I think
there's more picks involved. It's a nightmare to look at. They got to clean this up.
Yeah. Are you looking at it, Kyle? Let's just start with the trade. What is the exact trade compensation for TJ Hawkinson?
It is TJ Hawkinson, a 2023 fourth-round pick, a 2024 conditional fourth, and I don't know what those conditions are. We probably won't find that out for a while, for a 2023 second and a 2024 third. So basically they traded up a 4 to a 2 and a 4 to a 3 to get, or trade it down from the Vikings perspective to get Hawkinson.
I mean, and we'll just stick with you then. We were kind of talking this right before the show. I mean, so you and I were debating like if a second round, like if this was really like that much to give up for TJ Hawkinson, but also like you can get like shocking value sometimes for a second rounder, and that TJ Hawkinson just feels like kind of light value for us to be trading a second round pick for. And I mean, so Lawrence, we read just before we came on the show, Irv Smith's out 8 to 10 weeks, but like, I feel like losing Irv Smith 8 to 10 weeks, he has what, like 30 career catches. I don't feel like that's like a batten down the hatches kind of injury where like, we got to replace Irv Smith with someone off the roster, literally immediately, like call up the first GM you can find that I can send a second round pick to for a tight end. And we'll get to you in a second, Lawrence. But I mean, Kyle, we all feel kind of underwhelmed by this, don't we? Like in terms of like I don't really understand the Vikings' desperation to make this move.
Yeah, it's weird. I totally agree that it's not like Irv Smith was the thing holding this whole operation together.
Yeah,
it's having a good quarterback, an elite receiver one, a solid receiver two, and an offensive coach or an offensive minded coach who is helping bring that stuff all together in a really talented fashion. Irv Smith wasn't even playing like half the snaps. Like he was like a rotational player who was a decent pass catching option, but like Johnny Munt scored the touchdown for the tight ends last week. So I agree that like, I think we disagree a little bit on how much value they gave up for him, but we can totally agree on the fact that like, why are you going out and making this move? This isn't going to drastically change the complexion of your offense. It's really just like making a rash decision based on this injury. Hawkinson's a fine player, but he's not like an elite playmaker. He's not going to add too much when Justin Jefferson's already hogging the ball as much as he is in a good way. It's fine. I get why they did it. I just don't get why they made such a impulse feeling decision.
And they already have like the rim dunking tight end in the red zone, and Adam Thielen. Obviously we joke about him being like a tight end. He's not a tight end, but he plays that role in the red zone. Like if you're requiring TJ Hawkinson to be like a massive target in the red zone, I just feel like you already have that player. And Lawrence, I mean, we haven't actually really allowed you to say anything yet. Do you agree with us? Maybe you think this is the greatest trade ever. I kind of doubt.
I don't even really want to say anything about this trade. Like, okay, it's cool. Like we're going to rank them the same as we're going to rank them any week, probably. You know what I'm saying? The passing volume on the offense will go a little bit lower because we know the Lions throw the ball, but other than that, y'all pretty much hit it on the head. It's like he a cool little player, not nothing crazy or nothing. That's why like Twitter not going off right now. They going off more so about Steve Nash and the Nets parting ways. That's the talk right now until we get a bigger trade, maybe a little Kareem Hunt, maybe a little Elijah Moore. But this is just like, I'm going to go back to sleep now.
And like just – Kyle, so Lawrence kind of got at it there from like a fantasy perspective, like a fan perspective. Like I'm regurgitating a tweet I had, but like if you polled NFL fans on Tuesday morning and said, your team, would you approve of your team trading a second round pick for TJ Hawkinson today? I feel like most would not be in favor. And no. I mean, for all we know, I mean, what's TJ Hawkinson's reputation as a blocker right now? Do any of us know this? Probably a bad question to be asking, but
if you don't know it, that's your answer.
Yeah, it's true. I guess that's a good point. He's never been considered like a bad blocker. I know he's not a liability.
He's a good tight end. He's He's on the better half of the tight ends, there you go. I mean, he had a 155-yard game this season. That's pretty good. I'm not going to say the Vikings can't use him. They definitely can use him, especially with Irv Smith. He'll be out for a very long while. They definitely could use him. But, it'll be business as usual for that team.
So Hockenson kind of, because of the Iowa connection, he kind of did have like a George Kittle reputation entering the league, like this tight end who can have pop-up games, which he has had a few 150-yard games in his career. He's like an all-around tight end who can block well. I did his current PFF pass blocking grade amongst tight ends is 44th, much lower than I was expecting. He's better in the running game. He's top 20 in the run game. But it's another thought. This just strikes me a lot. It's hard not to project and like connect dots that aren't there. But Kevin O'Connell and their front office going out and do this just reminds me a lot of like those passion, like Sean McVay moves. Like, we're trading for Brandon Cooks. We're trading for Sammy Watkins. Like, sure, it's not a huge need for our team, but we're going to go do it anyway. And then they always regret it after like 1 year. I can see like a similar ending here.
That's like a decent comp. I think this one will work out a little better than like when you think about some of those that are just been kind of brutal. But Hockenson is a pretty good receiver as a tight end. And I will say, Adam Thielen, I called him a pretty good number 2, but like he's not threatening 100 yards. I think he only has 2 touchdowns this year. So he's not even doing like the good part of his tight end based job now.
Yeah, he is fading. He's fading pretty bad, actually.
Yeah, I think if we had 2019 or whatever, Adam Thielen, this really wouldn't make a lot of sense. But with how 32 years old Adam Thielen looks, he's looking I assume he's 32 years old. That sounds about right. With how 32
he is 32. I think he is literally
right?
32.
Nice.
Yeah.
With how much of his age he is looking, maybe Hockenson, who I believe is top 10 in PFF receiving grade, top 10 yards per route run among tight ends, maybe there is some value to having him basically as just a massive second receiver, someone who, when Justin Jefferson gets shut down, which isn't often, but teams are giving him double coverage, one of the highest rates among receivers. I mean, I see why they did it. Like all of this said, like Hockenson is just not the most inspiring tight end. He's good at a lot of things, and I don't know if he's great at anything really.
I guess we've done the uncharitable view kind of. The charitable view would be these are all lottery tickets. Teams in the NFL far too infrequently trade these lottery tickets for already proven talent. TJ Hockenson is at least a proven talent. He is going to a much better team. And maybe the end of the season, I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like, I would maybe typically hold on to my second round pick, but TJ Hockenson probably has a better chance of helping his team for the next 3 or 4 years than whatever random player we would have gotten in the second round. He will be on his 5th-year team option, which will be expensive in 2023. But real quick to put a bow in this conversation, clearly TJ Hawkinson's still a tight end 1 ahead of Gerald Everett Lawrence. I'm putting you like really on the spot.
Yeah, I'll go. I forgot Mike Williams is out now.
Yeah, and Keenan Allen is still.
I'll go Gerald Everett. The Chargers throw the ball 50 times a game. It might be for 275 yards, but they throwing the football. If they gonna throw that football, I'll take Gerald Everett. Both of them, where is 6-7 tight end range?
Yeah, around there. Kyle, going forward, Gerald Everett or TJ Hockenson?
I'll go Hockenson. I think he has a higher ceiling as probably a more talented player who, we say he doesn't do a lot great, but probably not a lot of players on the Lions circa 2017 or 18, whenever they drafted him, to 2022 have done a lot of great things, unsurprisingly. And this year he at least has one blow-up game where we saw when they had to lean on him, they did so with great success. So I think probably the ceiling is higher for Hockenson in an offense that somehow the Vikings offense, I guess we have to call it better than the Chargers. Chargers just look completely lost and they're not getting any healthier. So I'll go Hockenson.
Real quick, going forward, he's on bye this week. David Njoku or TJ Hockenson? Lawrence Jackson.
Njoku.
Kyle?
Yeah, as long as he's healthy, Njoku.
Speaking of David Njoku and the Cleveland Browns, they shocked the Cincinnati Bengals in Monday Night Football 32-13. The Bengals were scoreless until the 14-minute mark of the fourth quarter. I'll just start with the broad strokes question. How are we feeling with the Bengals offense without Jamar Chase? I may or may not have retweeted a tweet where someone compared Joe Burrow to Derek Carr without Jamar Chase. I actually don't agree with that at all.
I saw that too. I saw that too.
I just thought it was funny.
It was funny, you know.
It was only funny. It's not even remotely accurate. But just how do we feel about the Bengals offense without Jamar Chase? Is it going to be kind of an even bigger come down than we were expecting? Of course, it's a come down when you lose one of the top 3 weapons in the NFL. But are they going to be able to survive 2 or 3 games without Jamar Chase and still be in the thick of like the AFC North race?
They should be able to do that. Joe Burrow played a lot of football without Jamar Chase in his rookie year before he was hurt. Him and T. Higgins came out the same year, and he had some success as a rookie. I would imagine he'd be able to do the same thing now. I just simply think that last night the Browns had their number, and me, Kyle, and Von Darzell talked about it last night, and we was skeptical of that 3.5 point spread. It made the game seem like it closer to what it was. Well, little do we know, it wasn't close at all. But for the team that we thought was going to lose, they won the game. So I think the Bengals will be okay. I think they have enough. They really going to have to they'll have to lean into the passing game more, it seems, because Joe Mixon is consistently not getting good gains on the ground.
You can call him dusted, Lawrence.
I ain't gonna say that because he's still 25, and it's not until 26 when we think that running backs are old men. So, yeah, man, it'll be tough with Jamar Chase, obviously, because Joe Burrow has gotten used to that. But if Joe Burrow that dude, he gotta make do.
It's true, Lawrence. By the way, I have shocking information. Joe Mixon is 26. I just looked it up.
Well, no, that's everybody else's age for old man status. We still got Derrick Henry out here, but the way Joe Mixon looking, we might have to make that official.
Yeah, Kyle, so Joe Mixon, he's averaging 3.3 yards per carry. We know that's a very context-dependent stat. We know the Bengals invested all these resources in their offensive line and it's still not playing well. But we also know Joe Burrow has been lighting it up. That should invite soft defensive fronts for Joe Mixon, but he's only averaged more than 3.4 yards per carry twice in individual games. So this isn't like he's been like booming or busting. He's just been consistently, kind of in like that Zeke zone, like 18 carries for 56 yards. Only has 2 touchdowns. Can we still call him an RB1? There's 6 teams on bye this week, so he's going to be an RB1 this week still. But can we really still call Joe Mixon an RB1 right now, Kyle?
Yeah, I would say you definitely can. When you look at his usage, it's still elite. He'll probably, because we didn't have Austin Eckler play this week, probably end up, when you look back at it, be the number 1 running back in expected fantasy points through 8 games, because Eckler only has 7. Derrick Henry also had a bye, so some of the big contenders have missed a game, so he gets by on a per game basis. Maybe he drops 2 or 3. We saw last week.
Kyle, I'll just say I expect my running backs to score actual fantasy points. Is my expected fantasy points? All right, sorry.
We are at dangerous levels with like him, Deontay Johnson. Yards per target isn't sticky. Deontay Johnson will get back to healthy. But the good news is that at least Joe Mixon, he has at least multiple outs to scoring, right? He could, although it seems a little dubious, have a good rushing day. He still has a handful of decent rushing days on his ledger this year. But most importantly, he's got games of 9, 6, 7, and 9 targets. Even if he isn't playing much on third downs, they've made it a priority to get him the ball through the air. So as long as you're not playing in a standard league, he's getting a lot of points from the receiving value. And if you're playing in a standard league, he has 3 touchdowns. I think one of them is receiving. So he has 2 on the ground, but he has 3 total. And those all have come in the past 5 weeks. So he plays for a good offense. He gets the ball a ton. He gets the ball through the air a ton. I think we're kind of fading the inefficiency. And even if he is inefficient, like these players who get the ball a ton, like Zeke has multiple like RB1 seasons in which he averages 3.8 yards a carry because he catches a lot of passes. He gets in the end zone sometimes. And it might be a little uglier than we're used to from Joe Mixon, but I still think like even if he doesn't get any more efficient, he's an RB1.
And I think we'll see some positive touchdown regression with Joe Mixon too. Lawrence, a player, I feel like this is the kind of player you'll have respect for. Donovan Peoples-Jones, you kind of like to find, I feel like some of like the gems, like the hidden gems, and it's getting harder. Donovan Peoples-Jones is 70 yards in 3 straight games, 4 of his past 5. Like, it's really taking command of that number 2 receiver role in Cleveland. I don't even know. Like, I don't really have a question. I just feel like we never talk about Donovan Peoples-Jones, even though he's appearing to be quite good at football. And with 6 teams on bye this week, maybe he actually is a wide receiver 3. What are our thoughts on Donovan Peoples-Jones?
Yeah, another guy that was on our pregame show last night, Howard Bender, took the over on Donovan Peoples-Jones 43.5 yards.
Howard's a smart guy.
Yeah, good bet he had there. And we was just talking about how, prior to last night, he had over 70 yards in 3 of the past 4 games. Well, he just adds to that list now, 81 yards. He had the long gain in the first quarter, so he was ready to go. The Cleveland offense is proving that it could be functional. Now, I mean, just look at the last game against the Ravens. Jacoby Brissett was pushing the ball downfield, and as long as you're doing that, and Donovan Peoples-Jones is the solidified number 2, which he is now. We like, it's clear as day now. We had a question about that coming into the season, but now that we know that, I think he's somebody you could depend on. Kind of like, I would almost say you could, put him in that same range as Gabe Davis. I can't remember if Kyle or Vaughn said that last night, but I thought that was a solid comparison. What's helping Gabe Davis is the attachment to the elite offense, but what's helping Donovan Peoples-Jones is the attachment to this newfound usage that he's getting, and he's making the most of it.
Yeah, DPJ, I think he can force his way kind of at least into like the Adam Thielen part of the board, right, Kyle? Is that
not that hard to do?
No, it's not. But I know it's kind of almost damning with faint praise. They're on bye this week, the Browns. I wish they weren't, so I could get into a really like hot debate here about where to rank DPJ. So I was scrolling down my rankings. I was scrolling down my initial rankings, like, wow, I'm still not respecting DPJ. I was pretty sure I was going to have him a lot higher than this, and it's because he's not.
Yeah, interesting stat about him real quick. He has 3 straight games of in 3 straight games. He has a 37-yard reception. 37, not at least 30. Exactly 37 yards.
I cannot believe you took that stat for me because I was about to say that. And I was about to say, Kyle, you want to hear a sticky stat? 37-yard catch every game.
Great minds think alike.
No, seriously. Lawrence, maybe we're boomering. We're not getting boomerfied, are we? So I was looking through the game logs. I'm like, that's pretty weird. So yeah, you heard it here first. 37-yard catch for DPJ when they come off by in week 10. And my only takeaway for the Bengals is that, yeah, I agree with you, Lawrence. Basically, I'm not making any sweeping takeaways for the Bengals. They found out kind of late in the week that one of the most important players is going to be out. It was on the road. It was Monday Night Football. I mean, should have played better. There's no doubt about that.
They have a game next week at home versus the Panthers. You got to get right that game.
You did that exactly. Like, that's where we're really going to find out like, where they're at, because you're allowed one bad game. With or without Jamar Chase. It was just a bad game. I didn't see anything that struck me as like a fatal flaw, although Joe Burrow was getting hit quite a lot.
Yeah, to me, I actually am a little concerned, not to keep us on this topic too long, but like, what are the Bengals famous for? They make a lot of big mistakes, and they make up for it with a lot of big plays. Who's making a lot of big plays on this team? Jamar Chase. And we've already seen that regress this year with the team making far fewer big plays, but Joe Burrow still leading the NFL in yards lost because of sacks. He is on pace to crush his sack yardage and his sack total from last year. So if they're still making the mistakes at maybe even a higher clip, but they lose one of these big elements of playmaking ability, they're saving grace. Like, I don't know. I actually am concerned, but as Lawrence said, they do get not only Carolina this coming week, then Pittsburgh, then Tennessee. Even when Ryan Tannehill's back to that game, Tennessee, not a particularly good team. So really, that's what's going to get them through the Jamar Chase absence, is getting to play Kenny Pickett, Ryan Tannehill, and PJ Walker.
Well, say his name. Say PJ Walker's name. We're going to talk about him a little later and how he's kind of climbing up the fantasy rankings. But we're going to start at running back. We already talked about Joe Mixon. Lawrence, let's ask you the question I ask every week. Who are you having trouble ranking at running back this week? A week in which we are legally obligated to mention there are 6 teams on bye.
Yeah, so I'm definitely my trouble with Khalil Herbert is not if I'm going to rank him ahead of David Montgomery. It's how much I'm going to rank him ahead of David Montgomery. because now the Bears are finally starting to understand. They finally starting to get it. You know, the Bears offenses look pretty good the past 2 games, and Khalil Herbert has scored touchdowns in both of them. Also in those games, he's outgained David Montgomery despite having less touches. So, you know, Khalil Herbert is running back 20 on the season right now. David Montgomery, 32. Now, David Montgomery did miss the 1 game, but still, he's out-touched Khalil Herbert, and he's still behind him in PPR scoring. So, the question I'm having for myself is, I feel like Khalil Herbert is a flex play at this point. Now, with all of the buys, how high do I actually rank this young man?
It's a really, really tough question. Like you said, Khalil Herbert, he's outgained David Montgomery 2 of the past 3 weeks. The 3rd week, they tied. One of those weeks was because it was one big run from Khalil Herbert. But I mean, the production is speaking for itself. But so David Montgomery still played 70% of the snaps in week 8. Khalil Herbert only played 28% of the snaps. If Football Outsiders is to be believed, it seems shockingly low.
Wow.
But basically getting the ball then like every time he was in the game and then just producing. I definitely think they're both now flexes because the Bears are running 40 to 45 times a game. Like the Bears have found their formula, and even when they're down 3 scores to the Cowboys, they keep running. And this is the first week too, Lawrence. I've made the move. I have Khalil Herbert ahead of David Montgomery. But I definitely think Montgomery can keep like zeking and having like 15, 16 carries, 60, 70 yards.
Yeah, he would do that.
I mean, Kyle, are you 3 for 3 on saying Herbert's going to be ahead of Montgomery this week, or are you exercising a little more caution maybe?
Yeah, well, the snaps thing is what has me concerned. And the snaps thing is specifically because David Montgomery ran 21 routes and Khalil Herbert ran 3, which is so weird. Khalil Herbert looks like the prototypical would be great in the passing game. And I think he is, but they don't. I mean, David Montgomery is also actually a pretty good pass catcher and a good blocker as well. And they're using him clearly as their passing downs back. And as much as they want to run the football, they're often put in passing down situations. So I think because of that, if we're projecting them to probably split the backfield, I think it was like 16-14, 16-15 carry split last week. If you're going to give almost every single route out of the backfield to David Montgomery on an offense that won't be producing a lot of touchdowns, I'm going to take the guy with more PPR value, but I have to think I'll have them ranked like 22-25 or 23-24. And to their rushing, I saw this 2 weeks ago and I clicked the wrong game and I thought I was going to get to write it up for 32 stats this week. They ran 21 consecutive times in the 4th quarter, did not throw a pass versus the Patriots, completely gave up. Unreal.
Oh, man. But, they did win that game, by the way. But still.
Oh, my God. I can't believe. Oh, that was that game. Yeah.
That was the game where they humiliated the.
I got it confused with Dallas, in which they got murdered.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I know it would have been a really stunning reveal if they had lost.
But still, to that fact, they went an entire quarter without even attempting one pass.
Well, and just speaking, it wasn't that extreme against the Cowboys, but they were down 3 scores almost this entire They were down 28-7 at one point.
They got to a point where it was 28-23, and David Montgomery fumbled the ball, and then it was that you're already not stopping them.
They're very Falcons in the way that obviously if they get up to a lead, 21 carries in the 4th quarter. That's how the Falcons want to play. But if you get in a deficit, you give up and you run the football. So there's almost no scenario. We kind of saw it last week with the Falcons, but the Falcons ran the ball more than they passed the ball in a game that was overtime, 30-something to 30-something. And that's how the Bears are. If it's close or they have a lead, they love to run the football. But if it's more than like 8 points, they're like, well, we simply cannot put 8 points on the board. We must run the football. So no matter what the situation is, like, they want to desperately run the football.
So yeah, even though the 21 straight rushes happen in a win, like you're absolutely correct. They are the Falcon. Like your breakdown of the situation is absolutely correct. And especially with 6 teams to buy, they're both going to be in the top 24 this week. Kyle does make an interesting. Maybe with the snap, Herbert played over 40% of the snaps in week 7, but it was still almost 60 for David Montgomery. So it's just a decisive.
Who do they play this week?
Snaps advantage. And maybe things will normalize a bit. The Bears backfield for week 9, Kyle, the Chicago Bears are playing the Miami Football Dolphins in Chicago.
Ooh. Dolphins have shown a strong ability to put up points.
They have, but they've also shown a strong ability to kind of play up and down to their opponents.
I could see this game being similar to the one that they just played against the Lions, to be completely honest.
Yeah, and this is going to be a weird game. Producer Adam points out the Dolphins are only 5-point favorites. Not too bad if you're a road team.
Yeah, I don't know. That still feels like only to me.
Yeah, I mean, his total's only 44. Just the Dolphins, I don't know, they're a weird team. They're just a really weird I guess Tua was hurt for some of those really weird games, but they kind of.
But he didn't even play those games.
Yeah, he played the Ravens game. He played the Bills game.
Yes.
But he played the Lions game. So they're just kind of a weird team.
They struggling on defense.
They are. And Kyle, who are you struggling to rank at running back?
Deonta Foreman, because Lawrence, there's something going on.
Claypool to the Bears.
What?
Ew, yucky.
Claypool to the Bears. There we go. That's
dear God.
So wait, I don't understand, because like they traded Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn, but they traded. I don't even know what's going on, man.
I would imagine Robert Quinn probably had to be coming up on a contract year just because of how old he is. Like, he's been in the league enough where he's probably contract years.
Definitely is.
And Roquan was for sure. He was he didn't want to play until he got a new contract. He ultimately did end up playing this year. Whereas Claypool probably still has 1 year.
Weird. It's a little bit of a weird deal. So they have no receiving talent, as we know, but we know they have to add some controllable assets at receiver. But Claypool does only have 1.5 years remaining on his deal, including this year.
The thing is, with his lack of production in the past years, even if he goes out and somehow plays well, which like this team is not designed to make receivers play well, but if he does, like he steps in as like almost the number one receiver, he's not going to go out and command this massive contract that's like disproportionate to his production. Whereas like Robert Quinn had like 18 sacks a year ago, and Roquan Smith is considered one of the league's better like off-ball linebackers.
I mean, I think you still would have to pay. Like, if you're going to try to give Chase Claypool an extension this offseason, I mean, I think it would still be like at least $10 to $12 million a year, man. In a league where Christian Kirk's getting 16, 17 million. I mean, it's going to depend.
Do you think he would? I think this is a good one. Do you think he'd make more per year than MVS?
Yes.
I don't. I don't. It's close though. Like that's about 10 million a year. I think he's like 330 or 331.
He's still, Lawrence point. He's only 24 years old.
You know, though, I think they're gonna see how it works. I think they want to see what this is about. Justin Fields now. I think they want to see if he gonna be that dude. See what he does with Claypool, and then they go from there. That's what it looks like. Just off. Also, the top,
that's a really good point. That like. You may not even care what the contract situation is like for Claypool, what it does for the team's long-term outlook. If getting Claypool can help you find out what Justin Fields is before you commit to him for another year, like you save, especially as a whole front office that is now taking over and a coaching staff that's taking over, you want to be able to decide, are we rolling with Justin Fields? Do we think he's the future? Or are we going to hit the reset button quickly in our tenure with the team? Because you don't get many resets if you're a new front office. No. Maybe you get like, if you're really fortunate, you get 2 rookie quarterbacks, right? Call Justin Fields their one because he's 2 years in and the first year was a joke. You get one more shot probably. So you want to know if you need to take that shot this year. And even if Claypool, you're forced to pay him $15 million a year, right? He has a good end of the season. You're like, let's put him under contract. You just need to make decisions now. And this could help you get there. And it's not like there are a ton of like great receivers on the market. It would have been him or Elijah Moore or something like that. So it probably just helps for the team to make smart decisions as soon as possible.
So what you're saying, Kyle, is that you can maybe better evaluate quarterback play if it's Chase Claypool and not Dante Pettis or Equanimeous St. Brown. That's kind of what you're saying.
I would imagine so. I mean,
maybe a little bit. What about the Steelers receivers now?
I know. It's true. This kind of helps us several things. So first off, too, it is almost like, so the Bears were in full-on sell mode. I think you guys are correct, though. But it's almost like Justin Fields, like, you know the meme, like so-and-so does something, does this thing once. It's kind of like Justin Fields has a good game once, and the Bears are all something, man, maybe we should get this guy some weapons. Like,
it took them long enough to try to do something. Of all of the first-round quarterbacks from last season, he easily had the least to work with. And I'm seeing now that it's a second-round pick for Chase Claypool.
Ooh. Wow.
But now when you look at it today and you look at the recent play from that draft class, which one of them dudes is better than Fields right now? You could make the argument for Trevor Lawrence, but the other ones, it ain't even close.
No. And you can barely even make it for Lawrence at this point. And I just loving that the narrative is still in play that we can bury the Panthers forever for not taking Justin Fields. So like yet another reason why I want Justin Fields to be good.
Maybe the Falcons too.
Good point.
Yeah.
Spur heat of the moment, rest of season, Darnell Mooney or Chase Claypool, Kyle Dvorchak, then we'll go to Lawrence.
Mooney.
I think so too. I mean, this should help Darnell Mooney too. And
Yeah.
a guy who can operate underneath, who can get free deep. Chase Claypool, again, will finally actually command some defensive attention deep where I don't think defenses were too concerned about ESB or Dante Pettis or like, who is that? Is
Byron Pringle,
still on the
N'Keal
Bears?
Harry.
N'Keal Harry got a
Pringle was-
touchdown.
Yeah, Pringle was on IR, I think, for a while after the first week, and N'Keal Harry started on IR, or maybe it was NFI list, or PUP list or something. But like, who cares? Those guys are not providing anything for this team.
So this is a pretty interesting trade. Another two. Would you rather give up a second round pick for Chase Claypool or TJ Hawkinson, Lawrence Jackson?
Claypool.
Me too.
Still, I mean, as frustrating as Chase Claypool's career has been,
Yeah,
he still feels projectable to me.
You see the talent
Yeah.
difference.
He still feels projectable to me. Whereas TJ Hawkinson, he's settled into a fine equilibrium, but I feel like we've seen like TJ Hawkinson's ceiling. A good NFL player, but I feel like we've seen his ceiling. We have a little more running backs to talk about, but we'll be right back after this. It's a weekend of must-watch events on NBC and Peacock. It all begins with the Horses and the Breeders' Cup Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, followed by Tigers. The Clemson Tigers taking on Notre Dame football in South Bend, Indiana, and capped off with Saturday Night Live. The action continues Sunday with the NASCAR Cup Series Championship at 3 p.m. Eastern and wraps up with the Tennessee Titans battling the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. It's starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. All of it on NBC and Peacock. And don't forget, download the Rotoworld app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and so much more delivered right to your phone. It is available in your app store today. Kyle, I'll start. Do you remember which running back, you're having trouble ranking this week, Kyle? This can sometimes be a challenge for you.
I wrote it in chat this time, so I wouldn't forget. We've moved past the amnesia stage of the first 8 weeks of the season. D'Onta Foreman, and this will be a theme, I believe. Are we going to talk about every one of their top skill position players other than tight ends? I don't have any tight ends to note. I think we are talking PJ Walker, DJ Moore, D'Onta Foreman.
It's Panthers season.
There's a very obvious reason for it, and it's the reason I will be concerned with PJ Walker and not as much the talent of D'Onta Foreman is that, like, how sustainable do we think them being a good football team in the past 2 weeks is? They really got home. I mean, 21 points, but it was a hyper efficient game, which they weren't forced to press. Bucks get shut out in that game. I don't know. It was terrible.
It was close. It was, I believe, 21-3 or 8 or something.
Yeah,
it was something really weird.
21-3.
I think it was 21-3.
So a game where they were efficient and just didn't have to push the ball. They probably could have put up more points if they really wanted to. And then, although a loss, but a really high scoring, exciting game against this time a much worse defense in the Falcons. How sustainable is 2 games of PJ Walker versus I will say like a career of him being a poor backup option, but that's 3 starts, maybe some spot like second half appearances. So the sample size was so small early that I don't know how much we weigh that against the 2 games that is also a small sample of recently. I think there's obviously somewhere in the middle. He's probably, I mean, based on these past 2 games, he's certainly not like the worst starting quarterback in the NFL among the 32 options we have. So if D'Onta Foreman is going to get, which he did, nearly every single touch, I believe he led the NFL in carries inside the 5 last week. If he's going to be basically a 3-down back on an offense that is just palatable, they don't have to be great. But if PJ Walker gets them to top 24 status, that's not super high, but it's far better than I projected PJ Walker to get them. Like D'Onta Foreman's going to be a top 15 back.
Yeah, I've got him to the RB17 so far this week. Yeah, it depends on Chuba Hubbard's health. I don't know have we seen an update on that recently, Kyle?
I have not. No.
He didn't seem like particularly far away from playing in week 8. And we had a blurb on Monday afternoon that Hubbard believes he can return at week 9. I mean, far from certain, but I think it was a bad week for Chuba Hubbard because I think the Panthers kind of all along wanted D'Onta Foreman to be the guy after Chuba kind of really wore down as a rookie last year. And then D'Onta went out and showed he can be that guy basically. And like you said, lots of like receiving involvement too, right? How many targets did he have? Am I making that up?
I had 2 or 3 catches. All
right. Well, yeah. So that might be overstated on lots of receiving involvement, but He's handled 18 carries back-to-back weeks, I believe. Just producing on the ground. 3 tutties. We know that's sticky, right? No.
Oh no, he had 2 catches 2 weeks ago. Just one target last week. So not a ton of receiving involvement.
No.
He's not like he's
not his calling card.
A pass catcher. Like he was like the all-time runs for like AJ Dillon was this kind of archetype too. Runs for 170 yards in a college game. 0 catches, never targeted once.
Yeah, I immediately knew I had made a grave mistake when I claimed he had a lot of receiving involvement. I was like, that does not sound right, actually.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I sort of know it's not true. In my heart, I can tell you.
Go with it.
Not true. Yeah, we're going to go with it. If Chuba plays, are we going to treat Deontay as an RB2 this week? Let's say that.
I would say if you have Deontay Foreman on your roster, and he's done what he's done for you the past 2 weeks, you have to treat him like that. He's literally the past 2 weeks, he's an RB1 production wise. We don't feel like that could be sustained, and obviously Chuba Hubbard will get some run. But hey, I throw him in there, RB2, feel good about it, even against the Bengals coming up. And Kyle, you failed to mention PJ Walker's XFL accolades. You talked about his 2 games. You got to throw in the XFL too, because that clearly matters.
Don't get
when
me started.
Facing the Cincinnati Bengals.
Kyle's slipping that he didn't mention it. I mean, maybe he's saving it for the official PJ Walker segment that we should maybe just do right now. But my final thought on Foreman. So I have the RB17 without Hubbard. Even if Hubbard plays this week, I'm going to keep him. It'll probably be barely inside the top 24, but I'm going to keep Deontay Foreman in the top 24 because the competition is going to be like Michael Carter, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the Commanders backfield. I mean, A.J. Dillon, Caleb Huntley, Damian Harris. Running back, it's a rough read this week. Let's put it that way. It's a real rough group this week. And even with the Chuba risk, I think we're going to keep Deontay Foreman in the top 24. Let's just talk about PJ Walker real quick. We're not in the official quarterback segment of the show. Maybe we won't even have an official quarterback segment anymore, guys. But PJ Walker, I saw a stunning stat from the Athletics' Robert Mays, who the only game time all year a quarterback. So the stat was about Derek Carr. It was that he averaged 0.87 yards per air yards per completion in the Raiders' loss. Like just a horrific number, like as bad as you'll ever see, except for against the Rams. PJ Walker averaged negative air yards per completion.
It was just per attempt too. He just had negative air yards on the total, even on the ones he was trying to throw. He was not trying to throw deep at all.
So it's just shockingly bad production, a shockingly bad game plan from the Panthers. And then they just totally changed it up the past 2 weeks. They decided, like, we're going to be bad. We're going to see what PJ Walker has, whether we want to or not. Like, maybe, like, actually let him try to play quarterback a little. And then, like, 2 weeks after that game against the Rams, he had the longest, in terms of air yards, completion of the entire year on his Hail Mary to DJ Moore, 67.6 yards in the air. And yeah, you can term it a Hail Mary, but Denny and I talked about Monday, like, it wasn't a Hail Mary. It was like a seed. It was just like a missile.
It was Patrick Mahomes tweeted that is the best throw this season.
Yeah, I think it probably was.
I ain't seen when degree of difficulty, the situation. I don't know one better.
So he's averaged over 8 yards per attempt each of the past 2 weeks. He's revived DJ Moore. He doesn't have only 3 touchdowns in the process. He has only 1 carry for 20 yards in the process. We've seen enough from PJ Walker to kind of put him in the streamer mix or against the Cincinnati Bengals this weekend. Or is that still kind of getting ahead of ourselves? Is he still kind of like a bottom 5 option? You can't really think about streaming him yet.
Two quarterback leagues, you would definitely go there with it. Bottom 5, like, I don't know if I would go that far because you got guys out there like Mac Jones, Zach Wilson.
Yes.
Davis Mills.
Mills. We haven't had a Sam Ehlinger probably.
Yeah. So I wouldn't go, but I wouldn't go as high as QB 12, which is what he's been the past 2 weeks. Obviously aided by that long throw. But yeah, I would play it by the matchup.
Well,
probably wouldn't be one of those matchups. I would.
Well, let's see, Lawrence. So let me do my favorite game. PJ Walker against the Cincinnati Bengals or Trevor Lawrence against the Las Vegas Raiders.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Oh, man, come on.
Because it's the Raiders. Look at them.
I know, but I want PJ Walker or Marcus Mariota against the Chargers.
Mariota. He's a top 12 quarterback this year.
I heard Kyle say PJ Walker. Now we're talking.
No, I think Lawrence is right.
Come on, man.
Sorry. He's right.
Taylor Heineke against the Vikings or PJ Walker.
Now we talking. Now we talking, baby. Give me PJ Walker.
And I have one.
Go ahead. I have a lot
Lawrence.
more faith in PJ Walker's Hail Mary throw than Tyler Heineke's last Hail Mary throw. He did his with his eyes closed. PJ Walker knew what he wanted to do.
PJ Walker did know what he wanted to do. And I was going to end the segment, but this one's too good. PJ Walker or Matthew Stafford against the Bucks.
PJ Walker. What has Matthew Stafford shown us?
Zero ceiling.
Like, I never seen a quarterback like this after a Super Bowl. Where is Matthew Stafford?
He's had one multi-touchdown game through the air. He did have 2 touchdowns on Sunday. One was on the ground. He's thrown for more than 1 touchdown one time all season, Matthew Stafford.
PJ Walker's done that in a few starts.
Peach, right, Kyle? Peach or Matthew Stafford?
PJ, let's do it. I just saw this throw too. I hadn't seen it yesterday. Oh, man. This is beautiful.
It's insane.
I don't know if you guys watched the XFL. He was like Mahomesian in the XFL. Like he was doing like sidearm, no look stuff. And sure, it was against, D3 corners who were tire salesmen a few weeks before the league started. But it was awesome. And to see him uncork this one, it's pretty cool.
We'll stick with PJ Walker and the Panthers theme because DJ Moore has revived for 13 catches over the past week, 2 touchdowns over the past 2 weeks. There are 6 teams on bye. Is it point chasey to get DJ Moore like back in the top 24, maybe even the top 20 guys, or is that just kind of where we're at right now with wide receiver?
I thought you were going to say, is it point chasey to get him in the top 12? Like, I think.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah, he has been hyper elite in terms of his usage in the past 2 weeks. He had like a 40% target share and a 50% air yard share 2 weeks ago. This week, 31% target share, 60% of this team's air yards. Obviously, that comes from the one Hail Mary, but you're not Hail Marying it to Shai Smith or Terrace Marshall. Like, when you're looking at passing for this team, you're going to DJ Moore and no one else. And that's what his target share and air yard share have shown in the past 2 weeks, sans Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey. And if we're betting on PJ Moore, even being just in, or if we're betting on PJ Walker, being just in the Taylor Heineke type of Jimmy Garoppolo sort of tier of guys who can keep your team afloat. They don't have to be good, but they won't go out and like truly embarrass you like Zach Wilson, rest in peace. If he's going to elevate them to top 24, DJ Moore being like one of the league's premier alpha receivers, which is what he's been in the past 2 weeks, that will be good for like top 15 status.
And for the Bengals this week, pretty big loss. Chidobe Awuzie, torn ACL out for the season. Pretty key member of that Bengals defense, which had been having a really good year, especially in the second half, and took on some pretty heavy water against the Browns last night, and now suffered an injury they couldn't really afford to suffer. And all I know, too, about the past 2 weeks is I don't want to see Baker Mayfield. I don't want to see Sam Darnold. I want the guy who can get DJ Moore the ball.
Yeah, why would we?
His name's PJ Walker.
Matter of fact, before this big game that he had, it was after week 7. So we were still kind of on DJ Moore. And our guy Matthew Berry asked me, DJ Moore or Drake London? I said DJ Moore, but with PJ Walker. He has to have, it gotta be with PJ Walker.
It has to be PJ Walker. Straight up has to be PJ Walker.
Yeah, so yeah, man. We DJ Moore, and I'm sure DJ Moore is with that too.
Lawrence, I cannot believe Lawrence says you would start Trevor Lawrence over PJ Walker. I'm honestly shaking.
Who did you say is playing? The Raiders.
They're playing the Raiders, yeah.
Yeah. They look like they ready to pack. At the first couple of games, the Raiders, I was like, they're barely losing games. Nah, they ain't good.
No. Their first 5 or maybe 4 losses were by like 14 combined points.
I'm embarrassed to say that I thought that they would make a playoff push and would surprise people and not be the worst team in that division. They are the worst team in that division, which is weird to say when you got the Broncos in there, but they're coming off a win.
Say don't throw in the towel on that one yet, though. The Broncos could still come for that crown.
Yeah.
Maybe even the Chargers could come for the crown, man. They're so
insane. No lies.
This was supposed to be like, you know, the group of death, right? When you get the World Cup to come around, there's one group that clearly gets misseeded and it's all the best teams are there. And this was supposed to be that. This is supposed to be, you know, like the bad quarterback in this division was Derek Carr, a perfectly good quarterback. And at least two of these teams, if not three, are dreadful.
By the way, you mentioned the World Cup. You may know the World Cup is on Fox. The World Cup in Spanish, though, is on Telemundo. Which is
any of the Spanish casting for the game is going to be better than whatever Fox has. The Spanish cast of literally any sport is better than any other cast.
Yeah, so, man, the World Cup is going to be pretty sweet. So really, really, really looking forward to that. By the way, yeah, the Telemundo, owned by NBC Universal. So all I'm saying is watch the World Cup in Spanish. Watch the World Cup in Spanish. Wide receiver, Lawrence Jackson. Who are we having trouble ranking?
Juju. Because it's been Jekyll and Hyde. Now they're coming off the bye. Let's see if he could keep the momentum going. 2 games of at least 110 receiving yards and a touchdown in each game. He looks like he's finally becoming that 4th round, I guess, or 5th round steal that we thought we were getting when we drafted him. So, you know, obviously, you know, he was in the upper echelon fantasy receivers the past 2 weeks, not the case in the first 5 weeks. So, like, which one we going to get this game? And that's kind of leaving me puzzled on where to rank, because should I go wide receiver 15, right? Or should it be wide receiver 24 or 25? Because I feel like the range of outcomes it could be both of those.
So it's weird with Juju Smith-Schuster. It was to the point where I was like apologizing for telling people he's going to be a wide receiver too. And now he's the wide receiver.
You were like, you idiots, I told you he was going to be a wide receiver.
I know.
Yeah, gotta do that.
It's too late to victory lap it. Where it's only 2 games, but over the past 3 weeks, he's the wide receiver 6 by average PPR points. Back-to-back 100-yard games, as Lawrence kind of just laid out. And Kyle, I mean, what is more real? Is he a wide receiver 2? He's a wide receiver 2 this week with so many teams on bye. But what is like the Juju Smith-Schuster baseline? Is a wide receiver 2 or is a wide receiver 3? Because it's probably not 100 yards, obviously.
Yeah.
But what is more real with Juju? I agree with Lawrence. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I guess my concern is that maybe not this week. Don't know how much of Kadarius Toney we see. Totally healthy, by the way. Strange how that worked once you got a new team. You know, hey, I get it. I wouldn't. If the team is going to give me 7 snaps a week over playing behind David Sills, I'd also probably fake an injury.
The team is just going to be like super passive aggressive with me the entire time I was on their roster. Like, yeah, maybe just trade me to the Chiefs.
Yeah. So I get it. I'm not going to fault him for being a little disappointed with his usage, and we'll say, you know, selling the injury a little bit. But this week, I don't know how much of him we see. You know, he's coming off not a short week, but he's just coming off of no off season, no regular season with the team. Probably give him some small packages where he plays like I don't know, play some of the Mecole Hardman role. But in the long term, the reason they acquire him is specifically because the team has had for the past 2 years this depressed ADOT where they just let Patrick Mahomes quick hit his good receivers and then they get yards after the catch. Unlike what we saw in years prior, his ADOT is down like a yard or more compared to the past 2 years. Who is perfect for that? It's not Juju. And I love Juju, but 2 games is not enough to sell me on his ability to be this team's number 1 receiver, where Kadarius Toney has shown nothing but in the NFL, when you get him the ball, he makes plays and he gets open lightning quick as long as he's healthy. And he appears to be healthy now. So he's going to win in the same part of the field that Juju Smith-Schuster is going to do, but he has shown to be good at it outside of 2 games playing with a great Patrick Mahomes. He was doing it with Daniel Jones, who's playing better this year, but was not good last year. So his ability to win in the same part of the field, but at a higher, better, more efficient clip than Juju has me concerned for the long-term outlook of Juju. I still think this week I'm going to definitely have him as a wide receiver too, but within 1 or 2 weeks, it really wouldn't shock me that if Kadarius Toney gets 70% of the snaps, that he is just better straight up at earning targets than Juju.
What you're saying is this time it counts with Kadarius Toney.
It's always counted when he's on the field. That has just been a number of times I can probably count.
It's been shockingly infrequent. We can say that. It is. I mean, talk about like a wild card player for the stretch run of the season. The potential range of outcomes with Kadarius Toney is like truly wild. And you did a really good job outlining how it will affect Juju Smith-Schuster. So I think we're all kind of coming at Juju from different angles. Probably all three of us agree, though. 6 teams on bye, pretty safe wide receiver too for this week. I was about to say for this week 6. It's week 9. Kyle, who are you having trouble ranking in week 9?
You said that to me, and I was like, "Oh, I've forgotten already." But I put it in my notes, Brandon Cooks. And the thing is, it's. I mean, maybe
we should issue a disclaimer real quick. He could be like on a different team by the time people listen to this podcast.
Yeah. They've been pretty reticent to trade him. Shockingly, I mean, maybe they're trying out, like, see what we have with Davis Mills, and after seeing what they have with Davis Mills, they're like, "All right, we've seen everything we need. We can now officially start the rebuild." And Cooks is gone. But for now, on this team, they just have not used him as if he's clearly their best receiver. Since week 2, he has a 20% target share. That's exactly where he fell last week. There was no Nico Collins last week. It was absurd for them to not pump him the ball more. And the way that we see with DJ Moore, when all those players are gone, I get that this probably isn't the best run team, but they at least understand the fact that they have one talented player on offense and they get him the ball every single time. The Texans have 2, Dameon Pierce, who they're getting the ball, and Brandon Cooks, who they're not making a strong effort to. 20% target share isn't nothing, but he could push for 30 plus. And that's like what he did the first 2 weeks. And that's a player he's shown capable of being. But I don't know, like, you could also put plenty of the blame on Davis Mills. I'm guessing a good quarterback knows that he should throw not to Chris more often, not to Philip Dorsett as often as he did. So maybe that some of it is on him. I'm sure some of it's on offensive design.
Sorry. That would be a good lesson to teach a quarterback. Like, listen, David, I know this guy's on the team, but probably don't throw them so much. All right, man.
So, but it also could be that Brandon Cook's 29 years old. Maybe he's starting to push towards being more of a.
I'm sorry, I thought you were going to say Davis Mills was 29, and it sounded right.
He looked 29.
He does.
His neck.
He's got Brandon Whedon vibes.
He does it. Sorry, Kyle. You were saying on finishing on Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of factors going on, or a lot of reasons you could point to for his downturn in production. But I mean, last week, I think he had 70 yards on the final drive and 3 yards for the first 3 quarters and change. Like, he only got there on 2, I'm going to call them complete garbage time long catches.
Yeah.
So I am really like, it's a receiver who's not dominating targets for the Texans. Can I just rank him as a wide receiver 4 and move on?
Yeah, Kyle, you're really, after all that energy you just expended on that segment, you're really hoping he doesn't get traded and people aren't just skipping over this segment. It might be totally pointless.
Once he gets traded, I'm just going to move him up 5 spots, no matter where it is.
It's true. It's hard to see where he'll get traded. It would be where his fantasy outlook would be that much different.
Yeah, and I guess my concern with the trade is that what if it's not Davis Mills' fault? Maybe it is, but maybe it's not. Like, you can't say like, oh, Davis Mills doesn't know to get his receiver the ball, but PJ Walker, he's a seasoned veteran who knows. Like, there's not that much difference between these 2 players. I am concerned that Brandon Cooks is just taking a step back. The fact that he earned a 20% target share playing with Philip Dorsett and Chris Moore, that is concerning. And it will be concerning when it follows him to wherever he is traded, if that's the case.
Davis Mills won't be the Texans quarterback next season. I will say this: Brandon Cooks is the master of getting traded and going for 1,000 yards. Like, he gets traded everywhere. Now, he's had the luxury of playing with Tom Brady, Drew Brees. He always get the best quarterbacks.
Hey, you left out Jared Goff, man.
Ideally, Jared Goff was nice back then. Hell, he all right now. He okay. So we're talking, when you compare Davis Mills to all of that, including Jared Goff, it's like, oh man. But then it's hard to see where I see your point here, Kyle. He was successful last year with Davis Mills. So yeah, man, we'll just have to see. But I got him at mid-20s right now for the week.
Yeah, same. And we'll just see what happens. I will say that if you're listening to the show and Brandon Cooks has not been traded, it is a massive failure by the Houston Texans. Almost literally, because they're done evaluating Davis Mills. I can understand why, if you're going nowhere, you keep Brandon Cooks just because you don't want the offense to go totally off the rails. You still want to have an environment where you can at least evaluate players.
Who on this team are they evaluating?
Yeah, exactly. They've got the answer. So there's no need.
No, next guy down. No, not him. No.
Did you just think about this, right? At the end of last season, people were saying Davis Mills, Justin Fields.
I know, man.
That was going on. That was really going on.
No, I wish you were joking, but you're not. And I will say we got to give props to our coworker Rivers McCown, who I thought was like a little too hard on Davis Mills a lot. I'm like, I don't know, man. He played I think he actually played kind of well. And he was just like insistent, like it was all garbage time, that no, he was indeed truly awful. And it looks like Rivers was right.
It was also like 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Everyone's like, that's our Super Bowl. He didn't throw an interception. Like, he didn't go out and
like, be like that sometimes for some teams.
Yeah,
it does. It really does. We'll end briefly with tight end. We are running out of time. I don't know where to rank Evan Ingram. He's the tight end 6 by average points over the past 3 weeks. I was like kind of too high on him to begin the year. Then he got kind of stuck in like 7 catch, 53 yard zone, but that's enough to be a tight end 1. Like, so he's a tight end 1. I think we can say that. Is he like a top 8 tight end 1, or is that getting way too ridiculous?
I don't hate that. I mean,
everyone's faces are frozen. They don't know what to say to that one.
My face is frozen because I missed the name real quick.
Evan Ingram, folks.
You're not missing out on much, Lawrence.
No, yeah, actually, you're probably better off just not listening to this part.
I got this. So now I have the same faces when we was just talking about TJ Hawkinson. When we're talking about these 7-8 guys, we hoping for touchdowns. Look at Tyler Conklin. He's back now. He's a stud. He's a stud now. He's tight end 6 overall. Yeah. I would, again, they got the Raiders this week, right? Fire them up.
There we go.
Let me go adjust my rankings right now, actually. Get them at least in the top 8 since we're talking top 7, 8.
There we go. Lawrence, Kyle, yeah. Top 8. That sounds fair for this week, you said.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Everyone after 2 is a terrible play. So
Tyler Higbee is the jig up. He's bookended the Rams by with a 2-catch performance, a 1-catch performance, a bevy of drops, dropped a potential 62-yard touchdown on a 3rd and 2 in the 4th quarter. This has come as Allen Robinson has kind of revived. Can he remain a volume-based tight end 1? That volume has not been there the past 2 weeks. Are we dropping Tyler Higbee out of the top 12?
I don't know, man. Out of the top 12, once you hit 13 or 14, you are competing with the true dregs of football society. On the other hand, they have completely forced to split his snaps between blocking and actually playing like receiving parts of the tight end job. As Denny would say, don't block, be worse at it. Fake some missed blocks in practice. Oh, he got by me. Oh, I'm holding all the time. You gotta lie about these things to boost your numbers. Because last week he played 63% of his snaps, of his passing down snaps, as an actual receiver running a route. That means over a third, or almost exactly a third of the time when the team is passing, he's just going to be blocking. And for a team that is not passing efficiently, that is not able to move the ball, not putting him in red zone spots that often, like maybe because we have a lot of teams on bye, he still sneaks in that top 12 because Rams are at least a volume team and he was a volume player. But really, like, if he's just spending a third of his time or more blocking, that really is crushing his upside. Evan Ingram is not that special of a player, and you'd easily take Evan Ingram over him.
Yeah, easily at this point. And easily time to end the show? Question mark.
I think it's been since about 58 minutes and 33, 4, 5 seconds ago.
We gave it our all. I didn't think we'd make an hour today, but I also didn't think Chase Claypool would get traded in the middle of the show. And we didn't even get to talk about DeAndre Swift or Derek Carr, but it's not that we did talk about Derek Carr by another name. And basically we're like, the Raiders are terrible. And Derek Carr, I'd say he's out of the QB1 mix.
Fair.
Easy money.
Easy money. Easy money if you listen to the show, if you read our website, if you read Lawrence's Flex Finder, if you read Lawrence's Stock Up, Stock Down, if you read Kyle's 32 Stats article, if you read my Sunday Aftermath, if you read all of our blurbs on what is going to be a really, really busy week with trades coming down to the deadline Tuesday afternoon, listen to Kyle Lawrence's show before Thursday Night Football. Listen to our Week 9 preview show, which will drop Thursday evening. For Lawrence Jackson, for Kyle Dvorchak, I'm Patrick Daugherty. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you later.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.